Good morning, everyone. The third talk for this morning is by Peter Lovett. His talk is going to be on Python on Windows. Peter Lovett is a programmer, a son of a programmer, and all three of his sons can program in Python. He has worked in many languages from assembler and C to Perl, Java and Python. He runs training courses through his company, Plus Plus, in Australia and New Zealand. Can we please give a warm welcome to Peter?
Lovely, thank you, Winnie. Just checking you're in the right room. This is about Microsoft Windows. And I was going to subtitle this talk. I haven't got a slide, but I was going to subtitle it, "What I object to is that you automatically treat me as an inferior." And then you say, well, I am king. So just a little about me. I have over a third of a century paid programming experience, and I run training courses in a variety of languages, primarily these days Python and C++ for my company, Plus Plus. This talk will be about Microsoft Windows. It's an incomplete talk. It doesn't cover every difference there is between Python on Nix and Python on Windows. But hopefully I'll touch all of the things that will be important to you. And apology number 2, Windows. So be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. And I didn't sort of put it together, but that's because I'm working on Windows. That's a great battle. So an outline of what I want to cover with you this morning. Some of the challenges that we have on Python on Windows: install directory problems, path separators, the dramas of special installers. We do, however, have some positives. We have lovely help. We have PyLauncher. We have the Win32 API, part of which includes the Win32 Comm module. And that's what I'll be covering this morning. So this is not a Windows versus Unix talk. We'll leave that for the back alley later. And I'm not telling you which side I'm on. It's also not a Windows fanboy talk. I'm not here to tell you how wonderful Windows is. And this is also expecting that you understand most of the essentials at a developer level of what you would need to know to use the command line and that sort of stuff in Windows. So I'm not going to be covering how to open a terminal window. I will mention, though, that I'm a swinger. So I work for a variety of clients on a variety of platforms, which means largely in the corporate arena and in the education arena, Windows. So while it would be lovely to have everybody over onto Unix, that's not happening in the commercial arena. So I use lots of environments, and your mileage may vary. So let's look at the plus side. What do we have? We have up-to-date versions. Yay! As soon as 2.7.12 comes out on Nix, it comes out on Windows. So we have all of the latest versions straight from python.org. We have almost all packages. So we have, obviously, all of the core packages. And most of the big packages are also released simultaneously for Windows. There are a couple of exceptions there that I'll look at. We have C-types. Which means that we can access the Win32 API via that. We can write our own DLLs. We can write C code. Arguably, this is a contentious one, but arguably we have better access to the operating system. We can actually get, Windows exposes a lot of functionality of what the operating system in fact can do, and we have access to that through the Win32 API library. There's quite a few standard functions that we actually don't have. So for example, os.fork is not implemented. Anybody ever do os.fork? Oh, okay. It's not a common one commonly used, but we just don't have it on Windows. We do have multi-processing library, so we can do all of those sorts of things anyway. Lots of stuff actually in the os.etc. we don't have. We have os.chmod, but it doesn't really do very much. Yeah, there's a couple of bits there that do work. And Windows 3.5 is now not supported on Windows XP. So if you're still on Windows XP, Do I have any hands? Oh, thank goodness. I actually have a couple of clients that are still running stuff on Windows XP. Python 3.5 doesn't work there, sorry. We do have lots of other tools. We do have some nice tools. And if you're not familiar with Notepad++, if you're on Windows and you're not using Notepad++, you need to get Notepad++. It's a lovely editor, open source, regularly updated. It does some things that are difficult to do, even in a decent Unix editor. So I just wanted to prove that because nobody believes me. So I have, for example, if I hold down the Alt key, I get the ability to type in column mode. It's not turned on by default, but you can do multi-editing. Click there, control-click there, control-click there, and type. Oh dear. This is going to go terribly wrong, terribly quickly. And it's not that's not on by default, but you can enable multi-editing. And it also has some lovely backups. So verbose backup goes and tacks on the date timestamp on the end of every file when you save it. You end up with a bazillion little files, but if you don't have a content management system set up on your Windows machine, which you probably don't, then this is a satisfactory alternative. Undo all of that. What else have we got? Oops, sorry. So the basics. I'm assuming that you know how to set up and use your path. The recent installers actually ask you to add to the path. And who's familiar with path_ext? Okay, a couple of you don't. Let's just have a look at path. I'm sure you know about the echo command. Percentage, there's my path. And that's the selection of directories that it searches through. Yeah, I've got a bit of cruft in there. I do need to clean up. It's actually quite nice to go and clean up, though, on Windows 10. Who's Windows 10? Okay. I don't know if you've found the, the new path thing in there, but finally, they've actually got a really nice path editor. Finally, can you believe it? Over under path, you can edit that and you get a, oh, pretty shiny. Finally, can you believe it? Only took how many bazillion iterations for them to realise that we needed an easier way. So that's your path. Path_ext is also something you want to know about. So path_ext is the path extensions. It's not really path extension, it's executable extensions. So I can run my hello world with hello. Because the Windows installer sets up an association of py to the Python interpreter, you can just hello.py. And path_ext, another environmental variable you can modify through the bit there, knows that py is an extension. That's an executable type, and you can just hello. So, who's learned something so far? Excellent. Who thinks now you're happy, we'll just leave and go to lunch early? Oh, it's worth a shot. There's an example of the recent installer. That's not the latest installer, but 350 goes and gives us some things there to add 3.5 to the path automatically. And also install the launcher, PyLauncher, that I'll show you in a tick. Yep. Okay, some of the downsides, some of the challenges, install directory problems. Python 2.x installs into the root directory. That is just an ugly, ugly place to put stuff. Early Python 3 installed it into Python 3x. Ugly. The more recent ones install into C program space, file space, x86 Python space, 3.5. Problem, spaces. And if you're not careful in coding for paths, that will give you some drama. 3.5 can also install into your user directory, and therefore you don't need admin rights. So that's, of course, actually a clear, obvious drama in Python on Windows is admin, being admin, having admin rights. 3.5 also has a really nice command line installer, so if you need to do batch installs, part of your standard operating environment, we've got a command line installer for that. Broken paths. So what's wrong with that? That's right, one character variable names. We don't use one character variable names. Problem number 2. That's right, no comments. Where's the comments? Good. Problem number 3. Backslash. What's a backslash T? Backslash N. Are you allowed to have tabs and new lines in file names? And the Unix people should say yes. Because on Unix, that's perfectly valid, not advised. I'd recommend against it, personally. I've had a bit of dramas with that, but yeah, so watch out for the backslash because that's an escape character. So your options are option A, escape it, and then you end up with lots of backslashes, and if you've got a UNC server name, which is backslash backslash Galileo, you get backslash 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 backslash. And you don't want me to show you the regex for matching that. Good option, raw strings. Here's a recommendation, just do all your paths as raw strings. That will solve that problem. I didn't actually put it up, but just FYI, Python's interpreter parser is actually a little bit clever when it comes to backslashes. So if I had a backslash P, backslash P is, that's right, nothing. Backslash P isn't a thing, so the parser will actually pass that backslash through as a backslash, which is probably, I don't know, that's a variation anyway, so that'll be a challenge. Watch out for this. Even in a raw string, this applies in Unix, but you don't have backslashes that much in paths. But the backslash apostrophe at the end is a problem. And that's actually a syntax error, parsing error. So even though it's a raw string, you still need to escape the final backslash. So Pete's recommendation, even on Windows, use forward slashes. They're perfectly valid, they work. Use forward slashes for your directories. Although you're probably not going to be doing that anyway, because as my grandmother said, paths are not strings. She didn't actually, but but if she'd been programming in Python, paths are not strings. You should be os.path.sep. You should be os.path.join, and that will help you not have broken paths. One of the joys on Windows are special installers. So Pete's recommendation, my recommendation is use the standard installer. The standard installer is nice, it does everything that we need. However, there are some downsides on the standard Python installer, and one is that it doesn't have everything that you would want. So I'm a big fan of active states, active Python, which is just Python, plus some nice resources, plus Python, which is IDE, which is better than idle, but not as good as other options. They have the cookbook, and you can use their installer or pip for it. And it's got nice help too. Oh, and it's got the Win32 library, which is not in the recent versions of the standard installer. Or you could go for something like Anaconda, a portable installer, which has all of the science SciPy stack. Last bullet point, don't build it yourself. You can, but the problem on Windows is if you want to build Python on Windows, you need Microsoft Visual Studio. And if you want to build SciPy, the SciPy stack, well, you got yourself a bit of a challenge there because NumPy's not too bad. We've got some C in there. We've got a little bit of assembler. SciPy stack has C, assembler, Fortran. And Fortran compilers on Windows are not very common. But what do we have? We got some lovely help. Yay! Standard install, there's the standard help. Fantastic. And for those that you're trying to get into, for those in education, you're trying to get people using Python and they're on Windows, we have a proper help, a nice help, the standard Windows CHM. So I can go and search for the absolute value function. There it is. Nice. We got examples. And this is all offline, so if you're having trouble in your school with internet connectivity or whatever. So, and we've got all those lovely bits. The active Python's installer has the same help, but actually has some other extras in there, including helpful resources. The non-programmer's tutorial, the dive into Python, and yay, PEP. So when somebody says to me, oh, I'm going to use tabs for my indents, I say, Guido van Rossum says no. But just that, being able to search is fabulous. I find, PS as a side note, I find the index better than the search. The search gives me too many hits. The index seems to find what I'm after most of the time. So we have lovely help. A new thing which came out in 3.3 is the Python launcher. Woo! Everybody go, woo! Okay, one person went, woo. So now instead of going Python, you can now go Py. And so, so I've now saved you, you know, how many, what's that, 4 keystrokes. That will make your life a lot easier. But it'll also make it a lot easier because the Py launcher manages multiple versions on the one machine really well. So to help make that transition to Python 3, it's hard to get all of your stuff over to Python 3, especially on Windows, because lots of modules are still not available for Python 3 binary builds on Windows. So what do? I use the Python launcher, and then I can say I would like to use Python 2, which I've got simultaneously installed on the same machine, and it picks up the 2.7. Or I Python 3, and I get into Python 3. Or I can Python 3.6. Everyone goes, ooh. Ah. But I can even get it down granularity to a particular subversion. So, saves you 4 keystrokes, pick a version, and what? Installs understands the hash bang line. So the standard way on Unix for the Unix people to manage what version have I got is to launch it with a different hash bang line. So here, even though I'm on Windows, clearly, obviously, I can go and run my test version, and I'm running on Python 3, or, which is what you should be doing on your Python, on your Unix boxes. If you've got any code there that's specific, you should be Python 2 for Python 2, Python 3 for Python 3. Or you can just Python and it'll get you the default one, whatever that means. Default probably means the last installed, because that will be first in the search path, or whatever you've manipulated your search path to. But you've got another option as well, because in the launcher, which this is the most recent 352 installer, install the Py launcher. It needs admin right to install the Py launcher because it goes into the Windows folder, if you go to do it for all users. If you're on Python 2, then I actually still recommend installing Py launcher because then I can save 4 keystrokes and get some of the other advantages, including the hash bang. So that will be the default one. You can even have it under user bin env or hash bang Python. That's Python 2, 3, 3.5. You could even have multiple bits one's installed there, and specify whether you want the 32-bit or the 64, and that was not installed yet. Some extras there. You have to make sure that the .py is associated to the Python launcher, and then put a PyInit into either of those directories, which can have stuff like that. So then I can have virtual Python starting. My Python, there's my standard one. QNew does new division behaviour. TT does... T is warm on tabs. TT is error on tabs. OO, optimize more. 3, warn on Python 3 options that the 2 to 3 converter can't convert. So I'll launch all of mine like that. And that's also where I could set the default Python. And there's some debug tricks there to figure out which one it actually found. And there's some peps, it understands virtual env. Now, in our remaining 8 minutes, we will cover all of these libraries, which is the Win30. I just want to make you realise that there's everything there. Printing, processing, transactions, time zones, tracing, event logs, crypt. Comes with active Python, or you can pip install it. Access the Win32 anything. Don't get confused by the Win32. The Win32 means the Win32 API, doesn't mean 32-bit. So even on a 64-bit, you're still going to use the Win32 API, such as that one. I can beep, I can get the username, find the version, get disk-free space, and more. Here's one I set up before. Thank you to Cody for this. I might not do it all, but quite easy. Thank you, Cody. So if I can get access to the Win32 API, I can do pretty much anything. Including the Win32 Comm, which is the component object model, which allows one Windows program to control another Windows program. So if you need to control Microsoft Excel, or if you need to get data to Excel, use CSV. It's easier. Use tabs. But if you want to tell Excel to open this file and then save it out as a CSV so you can post-process it in Python, or if you want to draw charts or pivot tables or tell Excel to print, the Win32 client can do it. Launching Excel, make it visible. All of this stuff, the workbooks add, the worksheets, the range, that's all of the DOM, the document object model of Excel. So you'll need to know Excel to know what can I do in Excel and what are the commands to do that. And that allows me to do such things as launch Excel, fill it up, create graphs, close it. And there's the Win32 Comm test Win32. Code for that. As for figuring out all this stuff and then Pythonizing it, yeah, good luck with that. You'll need to know Excel. Pete's tip, record a macro in Excel. And then that writes half of it, and then you just have to Pythonize the VBA, put dots in, named arguments work, colon equals, they become just equals. Functions, subroutines don't need parens in VBA, you put them in for the Excel, for the COM one. My last bit, something extra. I've got Win10 Anniversary Edition here, so the easy solution would be to have another solution would be to have a virtual box or a virtual machine, or go and install Bash and then do everything in here that I normally do. Have Python 2, Control D, Python 3, Control D, don't hit Control D too quickly. Too long, didn't read. Watch out for the install location, watch out for raw strings, /, use path, os.path for your string manipulation. Use PyLauncher, even on Python 2. And if you want a bit of fun, have a go at the Win32 API and comm. Applaud now. So, question time. Caleb.
Hi, Pete. Great talk. Pete's tip for deploying Python applications to other Windows machines that don't have Python installed.
Yeah, a couple of options there. Option A, well, number one option is install Python on that other machine. That's option one. That's my preferred option by far. There is the Py2exe third-party module that allows you to compile into a standard standalone.exe. I much rather would just get pure Python on there. That's my preferred option, but if I can't do that, Py2exe, py numeral 2 exe is another tool that I can use for that.
Hi, great talk. At the beginning, you typed hello and just executed that.
Yes.
Is that, does the version of Python for that base off your path?
So that's actually getting the, it's running the same as what .py would give us. So it's using the association that the installer installed, open file with, always open with, to find it. This is actually launching the Py launcher. So when I go Python, when I go hello, that's because PyExt, py is an executable, it'll actually look in the order of the path ext. So if you have a hello.com in your directory, it will find that first and run that. So this is a terrible, terrible security. Please don't email me some VBE files or some whatever the heck those other ones are. Please. But that's the order that it will look for. So if I had a hello.py, a hello.com and a hello.exe, it'll find the hello.com first. If I only had a hello.py, which is my scenario, then that will use the association to then find which Python it will run. The path is what it's using when I go Python. And another question?
So you said you had to know Excel to do the Win32 Comm. I'm just wondering if you can use Python's introspection to help you there, or if it's all just empty.
Yeah, it would be lovely to use Python's introspection, sorry.
So it's just empty?
Yeah. From what I remember, yes, but let me just show you how I do it. And this is probably the end. So if I wanted, for example, a good example is underlining, because underlining is hard, so I'll use the recorder to start recording a macro and then just do whatever I want to do, like make it italic, make it underlined. Notice there's different kinds there. And then I'll stop the macro recorder, jump on over to the VB editor and have a look at the VB that it wrote. That's how you do italicity. And the problem here is that that's a constant that Python doesn't know, but I can use, I guess it's even its introspection to find out that that's got a numeral value. It actually has a fairly decent object browser, which I can use to go and find out that sort of stuff. So I haven't explored in any detail doing it inside Python. I'm just lucky that I'm just happy that I've got this. Notice this isn't it's a Microsoft technology, but it's not just supported by Microsoft tools. So Adobe Acrobat supports COM. So I can use Python to drive Acrobat. I can use Python to drive Outlook. I can use Python to drive any of those other tools, and I'll have to go into each and every one of those tools to figure out or to find out what's their object model. One more question?
I think it's time.
Any other questions? I'm around the rest of today, and I'm here for the sprints as well, so I'd love to see you. Last plug, if your company wants some training in Python, C++ on Windows and Unix, or Unix, that's what I do, so I'd love to talk to you about that as well.
So as a presenter, you get a mug